All right, so in this video, I want to show you how you can address maybe some special styling over here in the sidebar. You could leave it the way that it is, but if you want to make these maybe a little bit more custom, you can. So first of all, let's go ahead and let's inspect this. And I'm going to keep this down on the dock on the bottom so that I have plenty of room to see what's going on. So right now, one of the things that you'll notice is that if I select this A inside the list item, all I get are the basic styles for the anchor link, right, that I'd set up earlier. What I actually want to be able to do is I want to target the A tag that is inside of a list item that is inside of the secondary ID, because I know that the secondary ID is always going to be my right-hand sidebar. Or if if it might cascade down to the bottom on small screens, but that's going to be an important factor for me. So let's go ahead and do this too. All right, so what I want to do is I want to create a new style here since it doesn't exist, and I'm going to say secondary. All right, and then we'll say list item A. And so we can go ahead and create that. I'm going to go over here to the inspector style sheet, and I'm going to create some placeholders. And the other thing too is I would like to have something that is secondary UL. So like for instance, one of the things right now that is going on with the UL is, you know, there might be some padding or something like that. We could just see what happens if we set the padding to 0 and margin to 0. So let's see what happens. And then you see that setting the margin does really change things a lot. So I don't know that we're going to want to leave that way, but you'll notice that whenever we get kind of smaller, we start to lose some of the real estate. So maybe having that margin set like that is going to be helpful. And then we can always move up from there. The list item, one of the first things that I notice, also the other thing I did not mention, is we also want to get a rule going just for the list item, not including having an A tag inside of it. So for instance, I think I might like to get rid of these bullets because they take up extra room. So we can say list style. Let's do that first, and we'll say none, like that. And so the bullets go away. That's helpful. All right, I find that helpful anyway. And the other thing too then that we could do is for the A tag is we can take that hover effect off. First of all, let's go ahead and create a rule that's got the hover on it. I'm going to copy this and we'll come down here and I'll put a hover. All right, and so we can say border, for instance, border none. All right, so that when we hover it, we don't get that border anymore. We just get a background color. The other thing then we can do is we can actually go to do the background color, and we can change the color that it is. Let's start with Alice Blue, and then maybe what we can do is go and pick that color and make that the color that it hovers. And when that happens, that's all good and well, but then it's hard to see the link. So what we can do, and the other thing too is, yeah, there's no border or underline. The other thing is that we need to change the color of that hover over to, let's try white, see what happens with FFF. Right, and then that might be good. All right, and so that means that this isn't bad, but I might like to have, a good amount of padding. So let's, on the regular A tag, let's go ahead and add some padding, right? And we'll say that it's, I don't know, let's just try 1M for a minute and see what happens. And and then you'll notice that the background goes kind of crazy and something weird is happening on the hover. It's like almost as if the hover is getting the padding but nothing else is. So one of the things that we also probably need to experiment with here is before we do this padding, let's go ahead and let's say display is block, because normally an anchor tag is only inline, and that makes a big difference right there. Okay, and then the other thing that we can do is we can say width is 100%, like this. All right, and then we've got that. Now the other thing is, I don't want this showing where it shows that there are going to be five, five posts or whatever. And what the way that that's happening is uh, it's happening with the way that the widget is displaying that. And so I'm not really very fond of that. And if I wanted to right click that, I can inspect it and see what is going on with it and see uh, how that's being displayed. And you can see that it's putting this after just in quotes. And I have a feeling that that is somehow, I'm not sure how that's being computed, but I think it's something specific that the monster widget's doing. So I'm not gonna worry too much about that. I don't think that I like that particular set of styles though. I think 1M is too much. Let's see what happens if we do 1rem. I think that that's a little bit better. It becomes a little bit easier to look at. We can also go ahead and tell it to max its hideout, and then it'll fill up the entire block of its given space. Something else that we can do is tell the background. If we want to tell the background to be transparent, we might be able to get it to work with a transition so that it'll fade. We can try it. So that whenever we go to the hover state, so if we come over here and let's actually just go to the inspector style sheet, and then when we get to the hover, one of the things that we can do is we can see that the color and the background are going to both change. So yeah, so what I can do here is I can make a new rule that says transition, and we can tell it that we want, let's try first of all doing the color, and we'll do an ease effect. So we'll say ease, and then we'll do like maybe 0.5 seconds. Okay, and then let's see how that looks. So you can see it sort of fades in a little bit. It's kind of a little bit more graceful. And you could also say, let's do background. We'll add background as a second value or a second property. And then you can decide if you like that or not. It might be too slow. I don't know. But you could see if you like that and see if these other things end up looking good. And so something just happened to me that I'm always telling you guys, make sure you copy and paste your stuff. I accidentally clicked on something when I was touching my trackpad, so I lost all my styles in the inspector, but I actually did have a copy of it that I had scribbled down. So if this has happened to you, I understand how frustrating that can be. Anyway, so I'm just gonna really quickly, I'll jump back over here and I'll click the plus symbol just so I can get to my inspector style sheet, and I will just paste in my styles and see if I still am happy with the way that they look. And I think I am. All right. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty good. All right, so I'm going to copy all of this and I'm going to go and put this in my style sheet and we'll see where we are from there. Let's go into my style.css and I'm going to look for my navigation section, which I know is 5. I think it's 02 is what I'm going to be looking for. And so let's jump back down there. Could also easily go under menus as well. That's another option. I think I'm just going to leave it in the links though. So I can come down here and I'm going to paste this stuff and I'm going to put a little note right here that this is for my secondary, and I'll put sidebar link styles. Also, I'll put list / link styles like that. Okay, so let's just save that. We'll put that up on the server. We'll make sure that it's going to look the way we expect it to. Come over here, do a refresh, and let's try a hard refresh since that didn't seem to work. And there we go. Close that, and we've got this. Now, let's just check and see if this is going to be a problem. These little numbers, I think that this is a monster widget thing. So let's just double check. We can go over here to our widgets, and instead of monster widget, for right now, let's just move that out. And let's put some other stuff, like we can put normal categories in there. I don't know, whatever. Let's put pages, or you could put recent posts. Just put some normal stuff. Not that I necessarily want these, but you know, I just want to do a test. And so for categories, we can say categories, I guess. And let's save that. And then for recent posts, we'll put articles or latest articles or something like that. I'll save that. And we can try something else. Let's try the, yeah, I guess we can try to just look what archives. I don't typically use archives for a lot of things unless it's a site that has a lot of content. Let's look at backlog or old stuff or something like that. Yeah, let's look at backlog, or let's call it backlog. And yeah, so let's just test that out. And I'll come over here and I'll hit a refresh on this. And okay, so here we've got, yeah, and this looks okay. And then we've got our categories listing. I mean, they're crazy long categories, but at least we don't have the number of categories after. So this is the standard way that things will be showing up. So I think I'm happier with the way that this looks than with all of those bulleted things. And I typically am not going to have this many categories. So I think this will be just fine. And I could make a decision as to whether or not I wanted these to be uppercase. And what I think I don't want them necessarily to be uppercase. I might want them to be just a little bit bolder than that. So this might be one of those things where, you know, I can also come over here and look at the font weight and, you know, maybe decide that they need to be 600 instead of 400, right? And I can change that. And that goes all the way across. And I do think I like that a little bit bolder all the way across the board. I don't know. Something else that I could also play around with is this color. I think that I might like a deeper, darker color. So if I select off of that, you know, it looks a little bit darker, but then I also need to probably be consistent and change that same color elsewhere. So it's kind of up to you how you want to do that. But anyway, I can go and change that font weight over here on line 164 to 600. And that's pretty much it. I think I'm going to be good after that for my sidebar. And if other things came up that I wanted to address, I could do those separately. And the other thing, you know, that I wanted to point out that I noticed is that whenever I hover this main navigation up here, you'll notice that it moves, and that's because I added that that main anchor link border, and you know, the bottom border. And so what's happening is that it's still getting the hover text decoration style. So if I click on hover and I show the hover state, you'll see that it's still taking this. So what I need to do is I need in my main navigation, let me see if it's happening like up in here in these two. And I think, yeah, see, it's even adding the extra space here as well. So I want that to stop happening. So in order for that to change, I need to go and find the hover state for my navigation. And so if I jump over here to line, I think it's line 652, I know that I've got some hover states down here. So like for instance, down here, I can make sure that the hover doesn't have any kind of background, so, or a border, so I could say border is none, right? And I could be really explicit about that, and I'll copy that, and I'll see any other hovers. Let's just go ahead and put border none on all hovers, and we can make sure that it's going to behave the way that we would expect it to. And we'll put make sure that there's no border on any of these anchors. Okay, and I think that'll do it. So, you know, I could copy all of these rules because I know that I haven't really done anything other than add the hover changes. So let's copy all of those rules. I think those are all of the hovers. Anyway, and that's starting on line 685. And so if I test that, first of all, before I just go and paste it in there, let's make sure that, yeah, that did actually change and get rid of it. So let's go over to our style sheet real quick. And I think I said 685 is where it begins. Yep. And it goes all the way down through here. All right, so I'll paste that down in there, and I think we're good to go. And actually, I think I grabbed, this was extra, so I didn't, okay. So let's save that, let's put that up there. And as soon as that's uploaded, we can come back over here and do a refresh and make sure that our hovers are good, and they are. Okay, so anyway, all is well, and you can make a decision as to whether or not you want to go back and change the colors and things like that. I'm not going to do it in the demo though.